Hey y'all, you're listening to Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies, the DSM podcast. We help make mental health more comfortable by using Black movies and shows we know and love and culture to remove stigma. So join our convo with your host, Courtney Copeland, licensed mental health counselor,
and Dr. B, licensed professional counselor. It's a thin line between love and hate.
Got the intro to it when it's like doom, doom, doom.
That's it. I did. Did he do like a ooh something in the beginning too? I can't remember.
H-Town.
It was H-Town. I remember that part. Yep.
Dito from H-Town with his runs. It just,
Then after that, they had the, let me tell you how we got here. That whole little part, you know, it's about to be serious. Love that.
Right. Exactly.
Classic Black cinema element. Mwah. Appreciate it. What's poppin', everybody? If you cannot tell by now, we will be talking about A Thin Line Between Love and Hate this episode, the 1996 Black comedy / romance film co-written and directed by Martin Lawrence, who was also the star, just wearing all of the hats in this film. I love it.
Yes. You know what's funny? As I was like watching this again, I was like, I see why him and Will Smith had to do Bad Boys together, because they have some of the same characteristics, especially within their shows and in their movies. Like, yeah, they're mad extra. He's so extra in this movie.
Some things I feel like Will stole from Martin, but I'll, another time.
As you say that, there's some similarities between the two as far as their comedic behaviors. Right. But then there's also a difference. So it's almost like, you're right. They were a perfect element because they meshed together, but they wasn't repeating each other in a way where it's like, well, I see this character, I see that character. They're both the same. You knew they had different capacities. So yeah, all their movies were great.
Yeah, they were. So
especially this one.
Right. The voice you all are hearing is my fellow colleague, my big brother, Dr. Antwan Player, and that is his real last name. So Dr. Player is licensed in Minnesota and in Florida, and he is also a counselor educator at Adler Graduate School in Minnesota. What's up, Dr. Player?
How are you doing? Well, I would add on to not only just those elements. I'm also a crisis assessor at the local hospitals here in Minnesota. Yes. Also do a little bit of adjunct at Walden. And then whenever I have any spare time, whenever that is, I'm trying to do some research. So kind of do a multitude of things.
All of the things. Yes, science practitioner model.
Yeah. Lead by example, right?
That's right. That's right. I heard that this was one of your favorite movies.
Ooh. It is.
Is that true?
It is for numerous reasons. I feel like as a Black male, depending on what age you are in, this movie follows you and you learn your lessons and you see the character from a different lens. So I look at it now and I reflect back on my 20s and I'm like, yeah, growth. That's what I learned from that movie.
Okay.
Growth.
Okay, Dr.
Positive spin.
So what I'm hearing is that you over-identify with this character. Neither here nor there. We ain't got to get into your business, though.
Let's refrain over-identifying. Let's just say I can relate. Okay. I know someone like him.
Just saying.
You know someone like him. You have a friend asking for a friend.
So we all have a friend that can relate to Darnell. Also,
or unfortunately, some of us Brandi.
Ooh.
I mean, I myself, I kind of relate to his friend T. I was that friend that knew the friend. So I was more of a peer in support.
Peer and support. Okay. I'll take it.
I don't even know what to do with that, guys. But all of that to bring us to Darnell being at that bar. I'm in a real life. I can't even get it out.
I know exactly what you're about to say.
I'm caught up in a real life fatal attraction up in this motherfucker, man.
I mean, was he wrong though? I mean, it was kind of a fatal attraction.
No lies told.
It was. And for a second, I was like, wait, bar scene. It was a club. It was a club for me.
Club bars.
But he was sitting at the bar, Dr. B. Gosh, let me live. Don't you at me. It was a club and he was sitting at the bar.
Tomato. I mean,
further quotables, anyone?
So, of course, for me at the beginning, when he is getting his morning routine in and wiping the mirror and saying, I'm a fine motherfucker, that I was like, yes, this is how I need to start my mornings, just like this, and reminding myself, I'm a fine motherfucker. And then, here I come, world, here I come. He was just so into himself. And I think it was good that he learned a lesson in this, because he needed to be taken down a few pegs. But I loved his self-esteem and his, his grandiose characteristics.
As you say that, I forgot the quote that his mom said in the movie, but there was one thing T said to him, which was the code. You never say that you love someone if you don't truly love them. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that was significant, not just because of the movie in general, but it really talks about not playing with people's emotions. Because to really say that you love someone really lets them know that you're invested in them and whether they should reciprocate that or not. But if you're saying it very loosely, that can hurt someone. To which, was Brandi extreme? Probably, but did she have her reasons? Maybe. But, playing with people's emotions is not appropriate. And I think, I'm probably not getting too deep about this, but I think with the younger generation, there needs to be awareness about that. But also with older generations, there need to be awareness around that as well, too.
I agree. And I wonder, when you talk about the generations, honestly, I feel like we're afraid to have those emotions, to say, I love you, or, in the words of Drake, no new friends, so you don't really get to that level of feelings. That's just my opinion.
No, I think that you're right. And I think when we use the term I love you, or when expressing any term of endearment that can bring sentiment to someone, you're making yourself vulnerable, or you're making that other person vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people in general are not aware of their emotions. So when you have one person aware of their emotions and one person who's not aware, and you got two people saying I love you, the one who's invested and aware is going to interpret that differently than the person who's not aware of it, who's just saying it because it's what you say. So, working on emotions and understanding emotions and feelings, I think is critical for people to become aware of.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad he learned this lesson before he started messing with me and hurting her feelings in her heart, who was the most well-adjusted person in the whole movie to me. But so I'm glad that, hey, if this is what it took, if he had to get shot in the shoulder and thrown out the window and needing the balls in order for him not to mess around with Mia's heart, then that's just the lesson that Darnell needed to learn.
And so be it. It's a hard lesson. She gave him several different lessons.
He got shot. He got hit in the balls. He got tied up. He almost got electrocuted. If these are lessons you need to learn,
some people, not everyone learns the same way. Some people need they need more reiteration for them to grasp that full concept. And I don't know if he would have got it any other way.
I don't know if it should have probably at the brick in the window or the 3 flats.
Or Was it when he got arrested because she hit herself with the orange?
Oh my God.
And I watched that scene. I can't do it. It's
Really?
too much for me. That is where I draw the line.
She was really invested too. She was like,
I mean, I'm gonna get deep about this.
okay.
That's why I never used the word "I love you" to someone after seeing that movie. If someone can go to that extreme, you know what? You probably need to have a conversation before you get to this point.
Well, I mean, he said, I love you before even knowing her history.
Yeah.
As they were having or making sex.
making sex. Because we make sex.
All right. Did we all pick on that making sex? All right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know if I've ever made sex before.
You're making sex.
Okay.
And she starts to tell him, I killed my husband. I think maybe that's the time where you actually stop and you go. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
To me, it looked like he was preserving and protecting his safety in that moment. Like, you killed, like, let me try to move. And then she straddled him. And so he was just like, well, he was abusive. You had to kill his ass.
I mean, let's be correct. She straddled him as she had this conversation. I mean, really, what can you really do in this moment? I mean, it's kind of difficult.
You live to fight another day.
Yeah, and he fought several days, including being tied up. So, I mean, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, had he just done this in the beginning, he would have ended up like that at the end. I don't know.
But let's go a little step. Let's go earlier to what happened. It was all peer pressure. He got bet, but he made a bet with T, and as a result, this is what led to this. So really, I blame T with all of this. I think if T was not really in the picture, let's not be mistaken. T is the one who went to go holler at her first. So had T not got rejected, see, y'all gotta think use your third eye with this.
But okay, so we digging deep. I'm there. I'm with you, brother. Let me ask you this question then. So was that not the game that they run? Because T was like, yo, watch this. And then he didn't get it. And then Darnell immediately ran in with that's not how you talk to the ladies. Let me help you. That might be a game that they run regularly for this one to be the knight in shining armor. And, so that's why I'm like, hold up.
I mean, want to be honest?
He didn't mean it. And T in the bag. Yes, I did.
That is the game that's been run since the beginning of time, okay?
Exactly.
That was our plan. I can see that from a mile away. So yes, that was the plan. But I mean, he saw the stretch limo, he got blindsided with everything.
I mean,
she warned him though. She said she multiple times warned him to the point even right before she asked him if he loved her. She said, do you have feelings for anybody? Like, she's asking him these questions and then tells him, because I cannot be hurt. It would not be good for me to get hurt. I am in no way condoning Brandi's behavior or the things that are going on and floating around in her mind. However, I am highlighting Darnell's just pure rejection of the warning that she has given this man before he enters in this interaction with her in this way. When people tell you who they are, if you don't listen, that is your fault.
I can't even argue with you on that. Someone tells you they have red flags, listen, pay attention, and if you need to run away, run away. And when she said, I cannot be hurt, if a girl ever said that, if a woman ever said that to me, even if I'm feeling her, if she says I cannot be hurt, I am not running that risk. That is, I would have a flashback to this movie and I will run wherever I am.
Fast, get away, fast. But okay, so I know we're saying that Darnell should have taken responsibility, but he also, I mean, again, this is where we say he needed to learn a lesson because he went hard for Brandi. I mean, took down the girl license plate number and then proceeded to her workplace uninvited.
I'd have had him arrested then. That's stalker behavior, sir.
Okay, right.
Well, let's be honest. She liked it. She liked little stalkers. I mean, she liked some loose as well. So I mean, they were put kind of the same playing field at this moment.
He speaks my love language.
Exactly. There are no boundaries, apparently. So,
well, I mean, she was not okay with this. She had him kicked out by the flashlight cops.
I see you.
and then proceeds to have his friend Earl drive him to a showing as if he's going to purchase the house, and he doesn't. I mean, and it's not, it's actually, he comes in as someone else. And then, like, I mean, again, he pushed for this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But maybe he was interested at first. So for someone to go to those extent, I mean, yes, in the movie, context driven, you know, his friend T betted him, so therefore it could be seen from those lenses. But maybe he was actually feeling her as she wanted to pursue her. But then Mia came around and old feelings came up. Granted, there should have been a conversation before he did everything, but he didn't. He snuck around, went to Mia's house with the limo, stayed overnight, missed her birthday.
That was trifling.
You gonna stay the night at this bitch house with my limo in the suit I bought you on my motherfucking birthday?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I would have stabbed the cake too. I think I might have. I might have.
I mean, you know, there was a lot of things that could have been a lot of individuals at several points in this movie where they end up this way on both parties' behalves, okay?
Noted. Agreed.
And so, I mean, it was terrible because, again, I feel as if they both kind of fed into each other's personalities in a way. Like, it was just like, I know that you can't resist a guy like me, so I'm going to keep pushing. And she's like, well, I know once I get him and I shower him with all these things, he'll never leave. And so it's trying to kind of like play on these things that they're thinking each other wants. And there's really no conversation that's happening.
I agree. Not only was there no conversation, they were both enjoying the moments for what they were, but not having deep conversations. It was so superficial to the point where if they had these conversations, they could address a lot of things before moving forward.
And honestly, I don't know if Darnell was there. There were some things about the movie that was like, that's toxic. That's bad. With the Nikki saying the one girlfriend, well, not girlfriend, the one friend that he had, Nikki, who she was like, where do we get these labels? Or when, I don't remember agreeing to that. And she said, when I open my legs to you, that's what it was. And so then when him and Darnell and T are leaving the club the one night, and he said, Nikki get drunk and she started wanting to claim people, take her off the guest list. And so then or the VIP list, because that VIP list was so important, child. Using that as a weapon against her. And then when they are in the woods, horseback riding, and he kind of almost gaslights or attempts to gaslight Brandi with the either you gonna give me like, no, we about to get physical, don't do that shit right now, you done brought me up here to go horseback riding, like what is you doing, trying to pressure her into having sex, which to me didn't feel. There was lots of like just chauvinistic things in this film where I was like, ooh, that's not good. And then as much as I love Mia, it definitely did seem like they wrote her character into being, oh, this is the good girl. Like everyone else, these just the hoes that you play with, but Mia's the good girl. So this is what she's doing, and she's filling this role. So he can do these things differently with her, as opposed to just having respect for women in general. But that's, little extra just piece there.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, because there were different characteristics of each of the women that he chose to be interactive with. So like you said, there was the hairdresser, there was the dry cleaner, and then was there another one? Or am I making
with the children?
The one with the
kids. The woman with the children who slapped, the son slapped him upside his head and called him a knucklehead.
The one, the dry cleaner, the shy one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the shy one. She was very timid, but he's like, I bring it out. I can bring it out of her, And then the hairdresser, she was, like you said, she wasn't playing games. Like, she was like, you ain't going to treat me like you do all these other hoes,
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time,
but he did.
He did. Like she, she's like, kiss, do the thing right here. Like we'll get over if you just, hit it right here real quick. And just using his clout as a way to kind of get away with it. And then I think this is like where promoters got their like their mojo or like their lesson plan. Because club promoters really do act like this. I mean, at least they were like managers or, people who were within the actual club.
Because a nigga about to own this motherfucker.
Right.
Because a nigga about to own all this. Don't forget, he was about to own it.
Shout out to all my club promotion people. I still love you.
They really were just promoters. I'm sorry.
They really were.
Yes. And you know what? I'm beyond. I joke about Darnell and the character, but there was a lot of chauvinistic characteristics around him. And going back to what you were saying, they made all these other women he were dating to have these flaws, which made them not worthy. It's almost like they painted them in a picture that made them seem like they wasn't good enough. Whereas with Mia, they presented her with no flaws and all these characteristics. But when we think about the hairdresser, she was assertive. Nothing is wrong with that. Mm-hmm. The one that worked at the dry cleaners. Yes, she may be shy, but that's her characteristics. Nothing's wrong with that. The woman with kids. She has a kid. Nothing's wrong with that. It's almost as if they painted them out to have these flaws, therefore not being worthy, and therefore validating Darnell. So it showed this chauvinistic element at the beginning that, and I joked around earlier, which is the older I got, the more I got the message, because you can see the initial hour of the movie and harp on that and just go with it and forget about the last hour or last 30 minutes, which is the message, which is don't play around with people's emotions and think deeper about what you're doing. Once again, the older I got, the more I find out it's important to have these conversations with people. Mm-hmm. And also, if someone says they have red flags, don't ignore it. It's there for a reason.
Right. I agree. And I think that with the characters too, it's like, it's showing, for me, when I first watched it, like, just watching it, just to watch it, it was like, oh, damn, he didn't give a damn what they had going on. He was giving it to all of the ladies. Like, like it didn't matter if they had kids. It didn't matter if they was like this, if it was like that. But then the more I watched it, and then watching it from this particular lens, it's like, oh man, that really sucks. Like he had a certain type that he went for. And in some ways he went for that type because he knew that he had a little bit of a sense of control in how they could, how he can handle them. And I think that's why Brandi was so different, in that he thought that he would have like a way of being able to control her, or to kind of to play her, if you will. Mm-hmm. And she was a different one. She wasn't the one.
He found her. She said, you put your hands on the wrong one.
Yep.
So with all of that being said, and we've had a lot of conversation about Darnell so far, so let's jump right in. Did either of you diagnose Darnell with anything?
Yes, I did. I'm gonna take one from your page or your chapter, Courtney, and I'm gonna hit you with the histrionic personality disorder. Hiya! Did you do it?
I did not diagnose him with that. Oh! This, ladies and gentlemen, does speak to, diagnosis variability. There's variability amongst raters. And so that's why collaboration and consultation is so important, so that you can come to some type of consensus when delivering a diagnosis, going through it with the client. Important things. Did you want to go elaborate on why you gave histrionic though?
I will. And it's so funny because as I was watching, I was like, I know Courtney I know she's going to diagnose with histrionic.
No, not at all. I didn't even think about it.
So I think, okay, for me, when I look at the criteria for histrionic personality disorder, pervasive pattern of excessive emotionality and attention seeking beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, as indicated by 5 or more of the following. So there's 8 different diagnostic criteria, one is uncomfortable in a situation he or she is not the center of attention. I don't necessarily feel that that's the case, but when it came to his sister's prom, he did kind of make himself center of the whole prom thing. It's like, oh, you can't go, you got to be home by midnight, that type of thing, and who you going with? But I think that was just him being a protective, overly protective brother. Interaction with other is characterized as inappropriately sexually seductive or provocative. I feel like that he meets that criteria. Displays rapidly shifting and shallow expressions of emotion. I would say yes, especially when trying to get Brandi to see like, oh yeah, I want you to be with me, or even using the guilt. Consistently using physical appearance to draw attention, even though he was buying his swag from the back of a truck in the alley.
Motherfucker, we in an alley. Smell like piss and oil.
I feel like he did care very much about his appearance and has a style of speech that excessively impressionistic and lacking in detail. So again, like, you know, just really being a charmer. But there was no detail, hence the reason why he wasn't able to really, when Brandi said, we met, you barely even know me, you know? And so that interaction wasn't even enough to say that was an introduction. Shows self-dramatization, theatricality, and exaggerated expression of emotion. I mean, that's just Martin Lawrence in general. So I don't know if that's necessarily Darnell or not. Is suggestible. So he was easily influenced by his peers in making this decision to kind of go after Brandi, even though it was clear she wasn't interested or didn't really care to be bothered with him, and then considers relationships to be more intimate than they actually are. So perhaps I think he really felt like he had something more with Mia when in actuality, maybe it really wasn't there initially. And then it started to grow. I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Dr. Player, what say you?
You know, part of me can say I agree with that diagnosis, but I think also because it falls in the same cluster B of the personality disorders, I'm going to go with narcissistic personality disorder.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so Courtney agrees.
And I'm saying this because there's those grandiose thoughts. And when I say grandiose, you know, I get it. You know, having a good self-esteem, understandable. But the way he presented himself as if he was almost better, and kind of going back to his sister's prom, you know, it was about him and it wasn't about his sister. Or when he did make it out to his sister, he was like, well, I just want to make sure you're okay. Did he really? I mean, and following the theme of the movie, you know, it wasn't about other people's feelings. And this is me speculating. Yeah, he ends up with Mia, but does he really stay with Mia at the end, or does it make it about himself again?
Yeah.
Because these patterns, it's been going on for a while, you know? And then those grandiose thoughts, I'm gonna own this club one day. It's like, calm down, buddy. Like, it's one club. It's like, you know, it's not, I get that you have this dream, but it's how he presented himself as if he's larger than life. So for me, I went with narcissistic personality disorder because just his whole attitude just reminds me of someone. Let's put it like that. That's not me. This is her. It's not me.
It's a friend. No, remember, we remember. We were asking for a friend. So I also went with narcissistic personality disorder. Yes, in the same cluster as histrionic, but very varying differently. Like you said, with the grandiose sense of self-importance in the very beginning of the movie, when he's getting ready and starting his day in his Nissan, and he says, I just assume if God wanted all women to be happy, he would make all men like me. Yeah, so there was that. And then with that, believing that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood or should associate with other special or high status people, where he felt like he can interact with these ladies and that's okay. But Mia is special. She's this one. So then she's deserving of my time in a way that these other women are not. Requiring excessive admiration and has a sense of entitlement, just feeling like Smitty didn't even offer y'all the club yet. He said he was looking for partners and him and me. Yeah, that's us. That's us. Slow your roll, sir. You're the promoter. I might give it to Tracy behind the bar. You never know. Is interpersonally exploitive, taking advantage of others to achieve his or her own ends, which I feel like the whole situation with Brandi was like, it was him trying to prove that he, again, was the man. And in that way was being exploitive to not only Brandi and the different things that he did to get her, but also being exploitive to these women and being manipulating and using the VIP passes to in turn to get sexual favors, lacking empathy and unwilling or unable to recognize or identify the feelings and the needs of others. And I felt that one, especially not so much lacking empathy, like just really not being able to understand other people and their reasoning, especially when Brandi was telling him all of the benefits of the military. And he was like, oh, so you must be one of them Top Gun motherfuckers out there to shoot. She was like, so you really think I will go just to be with a man? Did you not hear what I said? It's often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him. I mentioned this for Miguel A. Nunez character Reggie. Miguel A. Nunez is not cute to me. I do not know why he was Pretty Tony on Martin. I do not know why he was Reggie in this film. It just, and with the whole, it was, the chicken delivery rapist run around just plucking motherfuckers. I was very jealous of Reggie. And shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. So I felt like all of those were very fitting of what Martin gave us as Darnell.
I will say this, and the lacking empathy, I really saw that he truly lacked empathy in so many elements. And the reason why I say that is for him to mess around with multiple women, thinking that it was okay and not knowing how it can affect them. It's like you're unable to put yourself in their shoes. And also it's not like he could see that happen to himself because it don't happen to him. Even the fact when Mia was dating someone else, he couldn't recognize that, what I'm doing to other women is what she's doing to me or what she could be doing to me. So he never really put himself in someone else's shoes, which you see this quite often when you see chauvinistic men, which is everything is about me and I can't put myself in a woman's shoes because I'm a man. That's not what we do. Or they rationalize it, which goes down a deeper rabbit hole that's just so irrational. We don't even got enough time to talk about it.
And I felt like he also, nothing was his fault. His mom was talking to him about how one night of passion can cause a lifetime of pain. And
that was it. That was a quote. That was a quote. Yes.
Yeah.
And the way in the strong Della Reese voice that only she could deliver. And he said, well, I guess it's your fault, mama. You spoiled me. You left me so good. Like, did you not hear what she just said? But nothing is his fault. And so, yes, I definitely agree.
And, his mom, love her to death in that movie. I think she was like the epitome of like what a black mom is during that time period. Even though she disagreed with him, she still had his back that she was going to fight the girl in the front yard.
You can't hit her. I can do it. Move out the way.
I know, as a side note, they just took me to Harlem Nights, and I was just like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's so hard to see her in a different role.
I mean, my mom used to watch Touched by an Angel. I'm like, that is not the same woman. That is not the same woman. But in retrospect, that is the same woman. That is my mom. She can be Touched by an Angel, but she can be Della Reese in Harlem Nights, too.
Right.
Shout out to Dr. Aisha Dickerson, who pointed out that same paradigm.
Same paradigm. That is so true.
But, just the fact that his mom was, the fact that he made that quote to his mom or felt like she spoiled him or enabled him was just to validate his stance on what it is that he does. And it just speaks volumes to like how he was so narcissistic because he cannot empathize with other people because it's not his fault, it's their fault.
And I am hopeful for him though, because at the beginning of the movie, we talk about like how we get here, and my life was fine until the day my trouble started, and it was more so of the introduction of Brandi, where it sounds like through the storytelling that all of this is Brandi's fault. But then towards the end, we get him more being self-reflective and saying, I stopped trying to be the man and became a man. And so I'm hopeful like that he did get shot and got pushed out the window and got kneed in the nuts and got tied up. And it took that, but he learned the lesson. That's not really how treatment of personality disorders works. But I also haven't tied up any of my clients and shot them and threw them in the tub and tried to electrocute them. So I don't know. Maybe that's a treatment modality that we just haven't tapped into yet. And someone
I'm not condoning that. Just for the record, I'm not condoning that.
Don't forget force feeding cake. I mean, force feeding cake is pretty abusive, apparently, and should be frowned upon. Don't force feed your friends or loved ones cake, please.
There are several movies that emphasize that.
Emphasize that.
Anime.
Yeah, thank you.
Anime, like, you know? Okay, so I have something to go against the differential diagnosis, and this is just saying. So it reads in a differential diagnosis that individuals with histrionic personality disorder are manipulative to gain nutrients, whereas those with anti-personality disorder are manipulative to gain profit, power, or some other material gratification. Although individuals with narcissistic personality disorder also crave attention from others, they usually want praise for their superiority, whereas individuals with histrionic personality disorder are willing to be viewed as fragile or independent or dependent if it is instrumental in getting attention. Individuals with narcissistic personality disorder may exaggerate the intimacy of their relationships with people. They are more apt to emphasize the VIP status or wealth of their friends. So with that,
the VIP status and the whole bet with Brandy, I'm not going to bet on the ladies like that. So it wasn't a monetary thing, but it was because you're going to call me the man and you're going to refer to me that way from now on.
Okay.
And after he sealed the deal, he called T to get the validation that he's superior by T having to say, I'm the man.
Okay.
So as a result, that just emphasized that need for fulfillment. And what man goes around needing the validation for other men to say, I'm the man, or exaggerate their sexual escapades? So I mean, it just speaks volumes to his
I mean, ask the locker room. It's been happening for a long time.
According to that man named Trump, that's just locker room banter.
I guess I'm old. That's what this is.
I guess I'm old. Man, that man older than you.
I guess I'm wiser. Let's put it like that.
You're a gentleman is what that is.
I guess I saw the movie.
You actually like women. I
saw the movie. Don't want to go to jail, and that's what this is about.
100. All right, so moving right along. Diagnosis for Brandi. Who would like to go first?
Go first again. So you team up and be like.
after this movie, I don't want to be wrong with diagnosing her. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of backlash.
She might come for you. She might still be in prison. We don't know how long she got.
Let's just say this: every man knows a Brandi, whether they have put her in that position or know someone that has put her in that position.
I know a Brandi. She a friend. It's not me though. It's a friend.
I hope somebody helps fix that dent in her heart, like somebody needed to do for Brandi.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna take a stab at it since y'all be punks. No, let me stop. All right, so I'm gonna say.
I thought I was doing it right.
So I said delusional disorder, and I say that she is the jealous type, right? And unspecified type as far as dominant delusion beliefs, no bizarre content, and I would say multiple episodes and currently in partial remission because I think that's how her husband died.
I would say if we're going with your diagnosis, that would be in the acute. We in it, ain't we? We here.
If you were, okay. So yeah, you can say currently acute episode. But the reason why I said partial, because she kind of she was done with it for a second and then came back in it. So that's why I put that. But should I read the criteria for it?
Just probably C, because I think that's the only thing that would be relevant. Everything else is very quantifying of, diagnosing stuff.
Right. So apart from the impact of the delusions or ramifications, functioning is markedly impaired and behavior is not obviously bizarre or odd. And then jealous type is a subtype, applies when a central theme of the individual's delusions is that his or her spouse or lover is unfaithful, which she might have been right on target with it though, because he was
100%. So I bounced in between delusional, jealous type, multiple episodes, and acute. And so I think I might still keep it. It just might be a secondary diagnosis. Mm-hmm. I think that my primary diagnosis would be post-traumatic stress disorder. Mm-hmm. So with that, going through some of the criteria for PTSD, she had the exposure of the actual serious injury of the violence. She said that he was very abusive, very hurtful, very mean, all of those things to her. So she had the actual experience of that. And then she also had the recurrent, involuntary, and intrusive, distressing memories of the traumatic event with the way that she spoke about it and how she referenced it throughout the film. And then the intense or prolonged psychological distress at exposure to internal or external cues that symbolize, resemble an aspect of the traumatic event. And I feel like Darnell pushing her into the wall is what was the thing that kind of snapped it for her. And that created a lot of the psychological distress. And then all of the extra wild stuff occurred after that moment happened, where she was burning the bacon in his house. How you got all that money and you don't know how to cook bacon? That's a damn shame. But persistent avoidance of stimuli associated with the traumatic event by her avoiding or having efforts to avoid external reminders that arouse the distressing memories, thoughts, or feelings about that are closely associated with the traumatic event. And so she was not really seeming like she was interested in entering into any romantic relationships for real, because of her experiences before. And with Darnell coming around, she was very hesitant and very reluctant. And then even afterwards, still was questioning him. Are you sure? Is there anybody else? I'm trying to, not really comfortable. And so it just feel like she was trying to avoid having a similar situation happen again. And then we have the negative alterations or cognitions, where I felt that she was having the persistent and exaggerated negative beliefs or expectations about, for this situation, others in the world, where she said, you men think that you can just buy us off of a shelf and use us till you don't want us no more. You get us all dirty. And then the irritable behavior, hypervigilance, and I do not think that she had any dissociative symptoms. If she did, I didn't really have witness to that. But yeah, I think PTSD would be my primary diagnosis. I might still give her a secondary of the delusions with the jealousy, but PTSD for damn sure.
Hearing you all say that, I agree. And I'm going to throw two ranches into the plan. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of brief psychotic disorder. And the reason why I'm going with that is to support the delusions that was occurring. Mm-hmm. But at the same time period, it occurred during this time period with Darnell. And it's hard to say if this occurred before, because I know she talked about her husband and what happened, but was it continuous? No, it seems like she was pretty stable before she met Darnell. So I'm thinking, due to Darnell's interactions and this brief psychotic episode of psychotic disorder experience, which is between 1 day and 1 month, that will probably explain the changes in behaviors. Because, of course, one of the elements is delusion, durations from 1 day to 1 month. Disturbance is not better explained by major depressive disorder or bipolar disorder with psychotic features. So I'm almost leaning towards brief psychotic disorder. Now, not enough contextual information to support that. But if it was to isolate Darnell's experience as one, that could be a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And sticking with, well, before I continue, what do you all think about that one? I have another one too.
So I looked at it briefly as like when I was looking at the delusion disorder. But as you were talking, it reminded me again, like how similar but different they are. And that I realized perhaps she has a borderline personality disorder.
And that was my next guess.
Especially when Courtney was talking about the PTSD, and it's like, but wait, how did she know to take a fruit and beat herself with it and slam her forearm into a door jamb? And so it's like, perhaps that was the imagined type of abuse that she created for herself. Not saying that we're not believing her, but based off of her actions in this particular moment, perhaps that's what she did in that supposed abusive prior relationship.
Agreed.
My concern was that what if that is because putting the fruit inside the stocking and hitting somebody with it, whether it's yourself or somebody else, is a way to cause physical harm, but without leaving fingerprints. So it's also something that she could have experienced that her abusive husband was doing in his attempts not to leave that type of evidence on her. And so I definitely feel like all of these are in some way potentially correct. We need more information and further assessment.
You know, and I agree with you. There's a lot more information, more contextual or historical elements we need to understand about Brandi. But just the rejection sensitive that she experienced after getting rejected by Darnell, and how she responded, which was once again hitting herself with the orange and then popping up to his house, cooking the bacon, forcing him to love her back. It just kind of showed that dynamic, which is almost this black and white thinking. It's either you really, really love me or you really, really hate me. And as a result,
oh, honey, you're cranky. You just need some coffee.
Right.
Right. So when you look at the criteria, identity disturbance is one of them. Like, I really feel like her identity was thrown off, and that self-image or sense of self was taken away by him saying, no, you're not my woman. She's like, no, but I am. I am your woman. No, you're not. And in her mind, like, that was her imagined relationship or... Yeah. No,
you're right. With borderline personality disorder, it is that cognitive functioning where it's inflexibility in thinking to the extent of once you became my boyfriend, you're my boyfriend. You can't be anything else. To the extent that if he was not going to be her boyfriend anymore, she had to kill him. Therefore, he does not exist. And therefore, he cannot be my boyfriend because he no longer is alive. So
she did have lots of absolutes like that, though, where she was like, I either like my men wearing nothing at all or nothing but the best. Everything was lots of absolute thinking there. My biggest concern is what brings me, I guess, back to the PTSD and what kind of was it for me. I definitely agree with all of y'all. But with the part where she said, I wasn't always like this. I was a good girl. I am. I just married the wrong man for all the right reasons. As if like this was the thing that set all of this like astray. Like this wasn't an issue until this situation happened. But with her age and where she was, this also could have just been, this was around the time that the onset started for her and she started to see the symptoms. And so again, very much so, we need further assessment and we need to be able to collect more information. But because this was written such, we're looking at it from Darnell's point of view and he is a chauvinistic pig. We don't get that full view of her in depth of her character because he didn't even care enough to ask her these things after she told him that she killed her husband. He didn't think to ask no questions. He just let her jump back on him. So we weren't able to gather enough information there.
I feel like we're not giving Darnell some leeway in this conversation because the fact that she said, I killed my husband, I feel like she put him in a difficult bind of a situation.
Facts.
How can he be like, you know what, let me process this during this moment? But I mean,
not during this moment, sir. Keep yourself safe. finish, act like you have the good time, enjoy that, so that there's no questions raised. But then afterwards, maybe ask some questions. Maybe don't go call T. Maybe let's either talk about, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna call you on the phone and we can talk about this once I'm a safe distance away. Like, just at some point, maybe we should have asked some follow-up questions instead of just worried about calling T and being called demand. But his narcissism would not allow him to leave that moment without getting that validation. So, there's that.
You're so right. I can't even argue with you on that. Even though I want to try to argue with it on that. But you know what? You're right. He should have called. And I mean, if any girl says she killed somebody, that is a topic of conversation next time we meet. Like, we need to discuss how many people you killed and how.
And how. Please explain how, first of all.
It didn't matter. He was abusive. You had to kill his ass.
I don't care how bad I need it. Like, I'm sorry. I just got a really bad tummy ache. Let me go to the bathroom, gather my things and run out of the house. I just could not see myself like, yeah, let me finish. Oh, yeah, she killed someone. What the fuck? Like, that makes no sense.
It does.
But
okay?
She just had so many red flags. Like, when he first met them and they run in the game and he's like, don't mind T. He was jumped on his head and he's a little rattled. She said, maybe I should arrange for him to fall on his head again so he can get unrattled. Ma'am, you arrange for people to fall on their heads? That's just something that you can make happen. And then when
exactly why I don't think it's PTSD, because she's borderline. She makes this stuff happen.
Well, I would say this. It could be the common denominator, or a common factor could be that she experienced trauma throughout her life, and as a result of not being treated, it manifests itself into criteria for borderline personality disorder. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if those things are connected, and I'm pretty sure they are connected. So
when it can be an and also, not an either or.
Yeah. But let's go back for a second, because I don't think you're giving Darnell justice in this point, okay? Because as a 22-year-old man, when you hear crazy things, you're like...
Darnell was not 22. Darnell was not 22.
Yeah. Maybe 26.
You saw Martin's hairline. He was a good 28.
Okay. As men, we develop, we mature later than women, okay? So let's put that argument right there, okay? But I mean, she said something crazy like, all right, this may be a challenge, let's see where this goes. To which, that's probably what attracted him to her. I mean, guys,
I agree with you there.
I feel like you guys are silent, so I feel like I'm in my own silo right now. So if there's any else listening, you've been there, you know this. Not saying it's okay now, but we've been there. We learn from those mistakes, okay?
I definitely think that he was intrigued by the challenge, and that elevated her status. And so for him, he's like, oh, she's a high status woman. So of course, me being God's gift to women that I am, it makes sense for me. I'm going to win her over because she's going to recognize that I am the gift.
And just as you said, they talk about him having the superiority thinking. If I can conquer this woman of this status, that just elevates my ego even more. So it's almost this weird play of action.
But I think she even knew that, because the way that she started insulting him, like once she flips, the way that she started insulting him was jabbing at his ego. When he told her to get out the car, and she said,
oh, yeah? Yeah, I'm right. And what are you, welter fucking weight champion of the whole world? What you gonna do to me?
all the listeners, welterweight is what, 140 to 147. She was coming at him being little in that moment. So she was saying jabs to get at him, calling him a mama's boy, all of that. I also love that scene because when she drives away, you can see the cameraman shooting the scene in her back window. Like, y'all couldn't cut that out. Yes. You can see him holding the camera just like this.
Yep.
I watched the movie like 1,000 times. I never saw that. Okay, I gotta see that part.
Yep, as she pulls off, after Della Reese come out, and after she pull off, you can see the cameraman right in the window.
Can we just acknowledge what Brandi did when the mom came out? When she said, "Hey mom, how you doing?" That was petty to the most to the
I always wanted to meet you.
Yes. I give Brandi credit with that one, okay? Like, she put out the petty card, okay?
Yes. She did.
100. Okay, so you might, I don't know how you feel about this, Dr. Player, because you referenced this person and we blamed the entire movie on him. All of this, again, would have been a commercial or an episode, like I say, if it wasn't for this one particular character. Did anybody diagnose T?
I did not, because I felt like he was just being a friend who was just like, you know, antagonizing one of his friends. Like, oh, you ain't gonna get her. I tried, whatever, you know, like he just seemed like a regular kind of young fella trying to make it in the world. That was it for me.
As a person who identifies with T, I diagnose T as being just a best friend. That's what T was.
A good friend. There you go.
He came out to the Malibu house to kind of help. I
got knocked out in the first 5 seconds of him being there.
I love my friends. I'm not doing that, all right? You should never went in the first place. It's like, we talked about this. Don't go. What did Darnell do? He got in a car and left. T was just a good friend. That's what T was, the mentally stable friend in this movie.
The mentally stable friend. Oh, okay. I'm not questioning his mental stability. I just would like to rule out for further assessment what Dr. Rosie outlined earlier as histrionic personality disorder. I would like to look at that for T.
Wow.
I said it. He did not like it when it wasn't about him. He did not. That's why he got so mad at Brandi and called her a stuck up and a Barbie doll. And yep.
T has poor coping skills.
I would like to rule it out. I would like to further assess.
Poor coping skills. I agree with Antwan. Could he be narcissistic just like his friend because birds of a feather flock together? Absolutely. I mean, you can't be a narcissist.
Clusters hang out together too.
Clusters hang out together, but I wouldn't say he's histrionic.
He said if you can avoid saying those 3 words, I love you, a nigga come back to his dick fall off.
He was being supportive. I think you guys not giving him credit right now.
I agree.
He was trying to he was like the Play-Doh to Darnell, okay? He was guiding him on how to maneuver. This is what you call a supportive friend, okay?
Okay, so I think we're going real hard for T, and I don't feel like T is the one who deserves all of this support and to bat for it, because I feel like the real good friend was, I'll go ahead and call him, his character name was Earl, but to me, he will always be Chill. He's Chill. And so Chill with his stutter, dressed up in the limousine man outfit, drove Darnell there, waited, opened the door for him, and said, do that shit, boy. And then supported him throughout. When it went down at the club, he was the one who actually found Darnell and got him to the club. He is the actual supportive friend right now. And I don't feel like he is giving his just due as him being a supportive friend. The bitch that fuck the best get to keep the man and the rest just stay around.
I feel like both of them were good friends in their own ways. Well, with Earl going and getting Darnell and saying this is what happened, but also that's what triggered Darnell to go into Malibu to go to confront Brandi. And so then once T realizes he went to go confront Brandi, that's when he takes off with him, or with Mia. So, I mean, I feel like they were supportive friends. Like they needed to be. If we're gonna say histrionic, I suppose.
Well, I'm saying further assessment. I just want to, check it out. I want to make sure it ain't. That's all I'm saying.
See, this is what happens when you're a good friend and you just happen to be around someone. All of a sudden, you get caught up, and now you get a diagnosis. I feel like this is not fair for Darnell. I mean, for T. I mean, T was supportive all around. He helped run the club with Darnell. If you think about it, T was doing a lot of the legwork, and let's be honest,
and that's why he got that parking ticket at the beginning that he tried to flirt himself out of, because his interactions were sexual, suggestive in nature. And that's why he was running the being the wingman with Peach and, addressed her as Georgia. How's my Georgia Peach doing? Because he felt like relationships were more intimate than they were.
Well, let's be honest. He was very kind to Peaches. So let's be honest. He did not be narcissistic. Peaches was, I'm not saying bad or anything. She was that mean friend that you had to be nice to help your boy out. I mean, talk about an example of a good friend. That is a fine example of being a good friend. He could have left Darnell to fend for himself, but no, he took a bullet. And we all saw how Peaches treated Darnell, despite the fact that Darnell really liked Mia.
But Peaches saw right through it. And we all need a friend like Peaches now. Come on.
Do you really?
Well, like not overbearing, but just enough.
If you are in love with a narcissist, then yes, you might need one. Because Mia definitely was. Okay, so talking about Mia, was anyone else disappointed in the training that she received from the Air Force? Should the Air Force have not better trained her for a situation like this? She walked in and did not assess the situation. She didn't identify all the exits where the target was. They separated and she didn't have eyes on her comrade. He got knocked out. Her first instinct wasn't to check a pulse or secure the area. What is the Air Force teaching?
I wouldn't blame that on the Air Force. I just blame that on bad acting.
But what I will say is that she went straight Boys in the Hood. She went back all the way to her first film in her reactions. The Air Force training left and she went Compton.
I think that ain't got nothing to do with the Air Force.
I'll say the same as that thing, because if she was anything military related and she knew what was going on, she should at least had some form of a weapon, whether it was a gun, whether it was a knife, whether it was a stick. She should walk prepared to hit something or somebody.
Well, y'all acting like y'all ain't got friends that's been in the military before. You know these fools ain't all the way there either. So the expectation that they supposed to be combat ready in regular civilian situations is not appropriate. This is a civilian matter. She is not thinking about military combat strategies.
I'll ask you all, you find out about your friend who may be in potential danger. You are brave enough to go there, because I know I'm not. I'm calling the cops. You got to do it down your own to win. But you show up. Are you not going to have some form of weapon, or are you just going to walk in the house saying, hello, is anyone home? Which is giving away where you are with no weapon. Wide open.
I'm going to grab me a stick or something outside. A brick, something.
And I mean, maybe I pay attention to too much detail, but this is an open floor plan house. So it's not like you can hide behind a wall. So if you speak, people see. So I need Mia to kind of walk in a little bit more prepared. At least have her shoe off or something.
For her to have been so smart just throughout the whole film, she didn't have no weapon. She let him talk her into staying the night by, I'm thirsty. I figured we'd go inside, drink some Fruitopia. And then, in case I got to bust out on somebody, like, you let him stay the night because he said that y'all was going to drink Fruitopia.
Fruitopia.
Man, just say that you want him to spend a night.
That's it. That's all. Just tell him.
As the delegate for all the guys in this movie, I will say.
Go ahead, Antwan.
Please mansplain this.
That we have used that line before. As corny as it is, I don't even know. It works.
Clearly, keep using it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey, like, as corny as it is, it works.
It has its up and down moments.
Sick of it.
Okay, so I hate to be the one, but on a much more serious note, one thing that was addressed in this film that I felt like we should talk about, we did need to mention, was the unjust, the unfair response that Darnell did receive from the police in his trying to file the domestic violence restraining order against Mia, and how the police did laugh at him and say, oh, she hurting you, she trying to kill you. And that is one reason why a lot of men don't come forward. And the ones that do, it takes them so long to be able to see any movement happen with that process, because there is a negative response to men making reports of domestic violence. And it is happening much more than the numbers are saying that they are.
Mm-hmm.
One that speaks a lot about the trust with any policing system, because we already have our trust issues with any law enforcement. But then two, you're right, for him to go to the police station and to experience that just shows why even go the extra step. Also talks about how men aren't believed when they may experience domestic abuse, but also reinforces the idea through the movie, which is, men, you shouldn't go to the police station or you shouldn't see any legal actions because you're not going to be believed, or it could turn around and bite you in the butt, or you're seen as less than. Because really, when they laughed at him, they made it seem like you can't protect yourself from a woman, despite the fact that if he could, what's going to be the outcome if he does do that?
Because I don't want to hurt the bitch. That's just straight. I don't want to hurt the bitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
So now he becomes a criminal. He has a record because he tried to restrain her. It's his word against hers. And especially during that time period when there wasn't a lot of awareness about men being experiencing abuse, you can see that this does not add up for him in a way that's going to support him. So I think that was a significant element in the movie, despite it having a punchline or a joke to it. It does have a bigger picture at play.
Where's the justice?
Where's the justice? Where's the fucking justice?
I know. And so ironically, when you're looking at some of the stats, so 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence, and 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence. And one thing that stood out for me when I'm looking at these particular stats is that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men in the United States have been raped in their lifetime. So looking at all of those stats and talking about, the inadequacies of how men may have been willing to report is clearly evident here. And then again, so looking at stalking, because there was stalking in this particular movie too, 19.3 on both ends, 19.3 million women and 5.1 million men in the United States have been stalked in their lifetime. So, yeah.
And just the difficulty with reporting, especially what that does for not only for the larger systems that are in play, but what that does internally for the individual that is seeking, that is trying to report and then not being heard in that way, being mocked in that way, not being validated, not being respected, not even being listened to. I can only imagine what that does to somebody, especially a Black man, with all of the other things that are going on, and then what that must do to him being mocked by, I'm presuming, white police officers, because that's what all was outside when he was addressing that. So I don't know what precinct he went to, but just all of that at play was very. I'm sure was not even a tenth of what we saw was not a tenth of what an individual would be feeling on the inside, despite his full getting in the car. I can't go nowhere. I ain't got no tires.
That is serious. That's serious too. Like, damn, she really
brought me down to my brake pads.
Yes. Yeah. And I was told that you can't report flat, like if someone stole your tires, the insurance company won't take them unless it's all 4. So she left her.
She left the one
because she left one. Yeah,
it's the educated woman right there. Last question, guys. Reggie.
I didn't give him anything. I thought he was just a really excited little boy.
Excited?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that not a good term?
No, I just didn't understand the excitement, but okay. You said excited, then he was excited.
Was Reggie a little boy?
No, Reggie is the guy, the chicken.
It's the Chicken King.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the kid that was coming to take his sister to the prom. Okay.
That's what I thought.
No, that was Cleophas' brother.
Cleophas.
Yeah, that's right. He's back in he's back in the school.
Cleophas back in the house getting busy with about 50 butt naked.
Okay, yeah. I was like, wait, I thought he was just excited.
No, Reggie is the Chicken King, the chicken delivery boy. He owns all the chicken fixings.
if anything, I feel like he's narcissistic too. That would be my diagnosis. I didn't give him one, but I would say he was narcissistic. Having to show like, yeah, I have the roof down in the Porsche and we own about 18. So we're like 5 million last year. Shut up.
But I felt in context, I felt like that was very LA of him. So they are living LA in the 90s. I felt like that was, you know, how LA has its own like weird little culture that I don't quite understand. I guess it's the East Coast in me. But I felt like maybe he's overcompensating for something. Dropping the Porsche and referencing his money and not being able, his heart couldn't take if Mia was seeing someone else. Because maybe he doesn't have all of the things that Mia might desire.
Maybe because he needed the attention to be on him, which is why he could not take her.
Maybe it was because his curl was dry and he needed some activator and he couldn't keep it wet like how he was supposed to and he knew it looked terrible. You know, either all of these things could be true.
He had a comb with him. I don't know why that comb.
Do you comb a curl?
Yeah, I was like, why does he have a comb in his hand in this scene? I just was confused. But anyhow.
I know you all see my face, okay? So there's a lot of transference going on. You're
what is it?
What was his name again in the movie? You're confusing Reggie with Pretty Ricky from Martin and putting them in the same category. Because I honestly feel like Reggie was really saying these things to Darnell and not really saying it to Mia. Because I feel like Darnell and Reggie got into a pissing contest and Reggie just won up them.
I agree. I didn't diagnose Reggie. I just think he's overcompensating.
I think he was beating Darnell at his own game, to be honest with you. And he took it like a champ when Mia was just like, you know, this isn't going to work out. You know, we just didn't go separate. He was like, you know what? I'm fine with it. I think a true narcissistic would have had a huge issue with that and could not accept that.
I definitely agree with that. I did not diagnose him with narcissism. Again, could just be the LA vibes, but here's the Porsche. I put the top down. It was just very corny. I diagnosed him with corny.
Well, I agree with you on that. And I think that's very LA.
Thank you.
To kind of have that, oh, look at my Porsche. We're going to go with the drop top. Like, get over yourself.
As I wear eyeliner and my eyebrows are arched and I have a dry curl that's kind of a fade, but not really.
Did he have an S curl in that movie?
Yes, he did. It was bothering me so.
Okay, I thought as well, and it bothered me. I just thought, how did he sleep with that? That's what bothered me. That's what.
In a shower cap.
On a silk pillow is what I'm assuming.
Of course, only silk will do.
Enough said. She could not keep up with his high maintenance. That's why they didn't work out.
I feel like she went from one narcissistic to another.
Oh, you're not giving up that Reggie's a narcissist. You're dying on that hill.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Sure. Done. Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong. Well, let me not say anything about people from LA because not all people are narcissistic. But it is that LA Miami vibe where their chests are out and they have to show you what they have. And I can say that because I'm from Miami.
All right, guys. So with all of that being said, prognosis wise, we can throw in a little bit how we would treat as well. But how do you see these people going forward, being productive, healing, if at all possible, in their future lives? Or will they? Are they just stuck? Let us know.
I think we have to, work with me on her self-defense because early is piss poor. And I feel like T is gonna have some post-traumatic stress disorder as well, realizing that he woke up and his friend was drowning in the pool. This is just my terrible prognosis. And Brandi, she's getting counseling in prison, working on, coping skills. And that's it. That's all I got.
I thought Brandi escaped. Didn't she escape at the end when she's on top of the helicopter pad and she was looking in the sky?
They just didn't have any more shots of Brandi. But no, he said that they showed her in the holding her numbers because she went to prison.
Oh, okay.
They just didn't have any more shots to reference her, so they used her on top of the mountain. I mean, the building with her hair blowing in the wind.
I thought she escaped. I was about to say,
this whole time, it was a whole part 2 for you, huh?
Like, Brandi's Revenge. That's what this segment will be called.
Yes, no, she's still rotting in prison.
She's probably out now, unfortunately.
No, she's black.
True. Well, yeah.
I mean, she had money, but she's still black. So I don't.
But also, he's not
America.
Dead. But did he die? And so he didn't, and therefore, it was probably,
a woman got 3 years for voting. I'm just saying, you never know in America what our sentences may be. So
yeah, you read about that.
We don't know her prior history, and in that time, I think 3 strikes was definitely a thing in LA. So she could have been in prison for a lot longer. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, she's in prison getting counseling. I hope.
Dr. Player, any prognosis updates for you?
I hope Brandi's fixing that hole in her heart. At this point, really talking with Brandi about self-esteem, also rational, irrational thoughts. Darnell, of course, throwing in Adler because I'm Adler Graduate School in the house. Social interests. What does it look like to be a social useful person and not to be a getting type person, according to Adler typology? Because really Darnell, lack of empathy, getting what he want out of people, really getting him to really focus on what can he do for others and what can he do for others as opposed to getting for himself. And then lastly, I would definitely say early recollections with both of them in order to do a lifestyle assessment, because I think doing a lifestyle assessment with both of them would get a good view of how they view themselves, how they view others, and how they view the world around them. And oddly enough, I think doing a lifestyle assessment, we would definitely see a lot of similarities between the two, because they see themselves as isolated people in their own world and not part of society. And therefore seeing society as, how can I get from others as opposed to contributing? So definitely a lifestyle assessment to determine what's going on with them and go from there.
Yes, I definitely feel that once released, that Brandi would definitely land on her feet. She is a strong businesswoman, so she would be able to financially pick up wherever she is restarting from. So I would not be concerned about her in that way. I definitely feel like she might benefit from maybe like a DBT group in prison between the ladies, so she can work on some of that interpersonal effectiveness, maybe some distress tolerance, some mindfulness, acceptance and change. We need to work on those 2 areas very strongly, as well as depending on whichever diagnosis that we did end up giving her would determine what medication that she would be given, because she do need some medication, whether it's a pill, shot, or a suppository at this point. However you get it to her, get her the meds. I feel that that is where we would see her as a client is, entering into the prison system. And then hopefully she can afford therapy outside afterwards so that she can continue to build. And then when she is encountering any future relationships or any stressors of her life, she would be able to work that through with someone. I would hope that maybe Darnell and Mia would get some couples counseling, because we need to... child. Maybe he was healed through being shot. I don't know what that near-death experience does to personality disorders, but I'm assuming very little. It's all Brandi's fault. So with that, I hope that Mia goes on deployment and they break up. They can't handle the long distance and they break up, and she finds somebody who is not narcissistic. I don't know I don't have a prognosis for Darnell, because I need to see him. I need to know what him not trying to be the man and being the man actually looks like. I would need to see that in practice in order for me to really be able to gauge where he would go from there on. And then I see Reggie marrying a white woman.
Well, damn.
What you guys say now, Dr. Player?
I don't know where they came from. That felt kind of hostile. Like,
I think that's the quote of the day of the show. Well, damn.
I don't even know where do I go from there at this point? That was that's something to process within its own. That's another segment. Now I gotta look at this movie differently. I gotta look at Reggie assessing and be like, all right, he really going to end up with a white woman? Nah, he ain't going to end up with a white woman. He
had a dry S curl. No woman of any ethnicity other than would accept that. With all of that being said, and all of y'all support for both T and Earl, I do see good things for them. I see them prospering. I see them doing great things with the club, actually. It becoming just world renowned and being a hot spot in LA. With all of that being said, please, Dr. Player, please let people know where they can get more from you, learn more about you. Are you selling anything? You presenting anything soon? Let people know.
So at the moment, I work at Adler Graduate School here in Minnesota. Right now, working on publications. Nothing really in the mates at the moment, just ideas. Don't sell any merch. However, the objective.
But we do. So if you want to buy some, you can go get that. Yeah, sorry.
I would do that. I can only say at the moment for 2022, the objective is to start a private practice here in Minnesota to work with people of color. My specialty is working with adolescents and youth, and also working with parents. So hopefully in the next year, you'll see something from me and hopefully the business expands. Thank you all for this wonderful opportunity. I enjoyed this conversation. Never talked about a thin line from between love and hate from this perspective, but definitely entertaining. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate your male perspective.
So very much. If you would like to support the show to help us get more content out to you all, you can visit our website and follow the Support the Show link to become a Patreon member or donate on our Cash App. Now, we are happy to get the kind of money that jingles, but we would rather the kind that folds. As always, be sure to follow us on Instagram at the DSM Podcast, and you can subscribe to our show wherever you get podcasts. While you're there, go ahead and leave us a comment because we are counselors and actually care about what you have to say. Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Okay, bye, you cinephiles.